In violence or a war in the making. On this edition of the show, we'll hear both sides out.
The two nuclear powers of South Asia are once more on the brink of war, with Pakistani-based terrorists attacking Indian soldiers and the Indian Air Force engaging Pakistani fighters. How can cool heads prevail and prevent escalation while managing to save face? Can election pressure in India and military influence in Pakistan push the leaders towards radical decisions? And will the cycle of violence in restive Kashmir continue to threaten peace in the region?
And we'll start with the Indian perspective. Ambassador Ashok Gangta, a former Indian envoy to China and ex-secretary for the East at the Ministry of External Affairs. He joins us to help shed some light on the conflict. Ambassador, Mr. Kantha, the most recent escalation between India and Pakistan seems to have been contained now, with Pakistan releasing the captured Indian pilot and returning its commissioner to New Delhi. But the situation is still tense in Kashmir. Is there a risk of violence breaking out again?
Yes, the situation has been contained, as you mentioned. What has happened, that the tension is winding down. We're happy to see that under international pressure, Pakistan has taken some steps against terrorist groups operating from its soil. But we would like to be convinced that what Pakistan is doing is not merely cosmetic in nature, that they are willing to break the long habit of sponsoring terrorist activities directed against India. Unless that problem is resolved, I'm afraid that this vicious cycle of terrorist actions on Indian soil leading to escalation in tension will continue.
So the steps to de-escalate came quick and worked. A goodwill gesture from Pakistan, so the release of a captive Indian pilot. Can that momentum of making sense carry on forward and bring about new opportunities to improve the climate between India and Pakistan?
Yes, it is possible. There are some positive steps which are being taken. But as I mentioned, much more needs to be done. There is a structural problem when it comes to India-Pakistan relations, which is linked to Pakistan's sponsorship of terrorism. Pakistan presumed that because of its nuclear weapon capability, India will continue to exercise what is sometimes described as strategic restraint and not respond to terrorist activities on its soil. This time, India decided to otherwise. So a message, firm and clear, has been sent to Pakistan. International community has also conveyed very clear message to Pakistan that it's not in its interest. It's not in interest of regional and global peace and security that Pakistan should sponsor terrorist activities, allow them to operate with impunity from its soil. So let's see that there will be some change and some fundamental change in months and years to come.
So India has claimed it inflicted major damage on the terrorist camp inside the Pakistani territory. However, Pakistani authorities deny this, and independent researchers have also cast doubt on the Indian version of events, and journalists inside India who doubt the official story are feeling the pressure from the government. But at rallies, politicians are talking about hundreds of killed terrorists. Are Indian authorities exaggerating the scale of their retaliation?
No, as far as I'm aware, Indian authorities have not given any official number for casualties inflicted as a result of counter-terrorist action taken by Indian Air Force. Indian Air Force has confirmed that it hit against the targets that were given to it, and it was done successfully. I think the basic objective has been conveyed, that Pakistan cannot operate with impunity, as I mentioned earlier, and that India will retaliate if such terrorist actions continue to be mounted by Pakistan on Indian soil.
It was hard to believe that the sides will actually go to all-out war over this incident, even though it was scary for a moment. What is the point of these short escalations if the situation always stays the same after the dust has settled?
First let me, clarify that at no stage during the recent, crisis, if I may describe it as such, there was any real risk of outbreak of war between India and Pakistan. I believe neither side was interested in escalating the situation beyond a point. There is strong desire on India's part, at least, to see that peace and stability is maintained, and that we move towards more amicable relations with Pakistan. But this will require, as I mentioned earlier, some more fundamental shift in Pakistan's attitude on issues relating to terrorism.
So will this kind of thing just keep on happening between India and Pakistan forever?
No, hopefully not. In fact, as you can see, India is a country which is doing reasonably well when it comes to its pursuit of its developmental agenda. India's economy is the fastest growing major economy in the world today, and we would like to concentrate on that. We do not want to be distracted by Pakistan, but when incidents like Uri or Pulwama happens, I think for India, especially in a democratic setup, there is need to take some action. And in this case, counter-terrorist steps were taken by Indian Air Force. But as I mentioned earlier, India is not interested in escalating tension with Pakistan. We would like to have more amicable relations with Pakistan. And if Pakistan really absorbs the use of terrorism as an instrument of state policy, we can move down a more positive path in our relations between India and Pakistan.
So the underlying issue behind the terror attacks is the status of Jammu and Kashmir, an issue that seems to be frozen in time, with neither side willing to start doing anything about it. How much longer will New Delhi and Islamabad tolerate a powder keg like that, which can bring them to an all-out war that nobody really wants? Why is the issue of Kashmir not moving along for decades now? Even Palestinians and Israelis have managed to make some progress since 1947, Surely it's easier to do that for Pakistanis and Indians.
As far as Jammu and Kashmir is concerned, from India's perspective, the only issue that remains to be resolved is vacation by Pakistan of illegal occupation of parts of Jammu and Kashmir. That's our position. But when it comes to tension between India and Pakistan, there are more fundamental issues which are closely linked to nature of polity in Pakistan, the way the military establishment dominates polity in Pakistan, and they have a certain vested interest in promoting hostility and animosity directed against India. So this is one issue where Pakistan needs to do some introspection and see how, because of pursuit of certain policies, its own economy has been affected, how there is radicalization in society, which is not at all good for Pakistan, apart from problems Pakistan creates for its neighbors, whether it's India, whether it's Pakistan, whether it's Iran, whether it's China. I think that problem needs to be addressed by Pakistan quite squarely and sincerely.
Pakistan has repeatedly denied supporting terrorists such as Jaish-e-Mohammed, and Islamabad said it's ready to cooperate with India on combating extremism. Is it fair to hold Pakistan responsible for actions of non-state actors? I mean, for instance, the Bataclan attacks in Paris were carried out by Belgians, but we don't expect France to bomb Belgium in return, do we?
No, I think there is a very clear pattern, long-established pattern of terrorist activities directed against India. Most recently we had Pulwama. Before that we had Uri. We had 26/11 in 2008 when there were attacks in Mumbai. There was an attack on Indian Parliament in 2001. And in all these incidents, there's absolutely no doubt that there's involvement of terrorist groups which are operating with impunity from Pakistan's soil or from territory controlled by Pakistan. I think this situation needs to be changed. And India's patience in this regard is frankly not limitless. There is a lot of anger in India that Pakistan is unwilling to change its habit in this regard. We will continue to develop, despite these problems, Indian economy, Indian society will continue to progress. But this is a situation which is not acceptable to us. India has been a very responsible power, a responsible society and polity and country, but our responsibility should not be taken as a sign or manifestation of helplessness, as Pakistan was inclined to do. That's why, in this case, Indian Air Force had to take certain firm action directed against Jaish-e-Mohammed facility which are located in Pakistan.
Okay, and just last question to wrap it all up. The terror attack in Kashmir was preceded by a terror attack in Iran, carried out by the group that is also allegedly aided or at least tolerated by Pakistan. I have heard Indian and Afghan politicians accuse Pakistan of directly aiding terror groups many times, and Islamabad always denies it. Why doesn't the Indian government publicly show irrefutable proof of Pakistan's support of terrorism, to put an end to this debate once and for all?
It's not a question of India taking certain position. In fact, international community is fully convinced. You just ask people in Afghanistan, you ask people in Iran, you ask people in USA, in various countries. I think there's absolutely no doubt that Pakistan has a certain proven track record of sponsoring terrorism. It tends to believe that terrorism can be used as what is euphemistically described as subconventional means for pressurizing India and other neighboring countries. There's no absence of proof. In fact, you look at action taken by 1267 Committee of UN Security Council. They have listed many terrorist groups and terrorists operating out of Pakistan. That's not action taken by India. That's action taken by UN Security Council, 1267 Al-Qaeda Committee. So it's not a question of India taking a position and others not accepting. I think that's something which is being internationally acknowledged, that Pakistan has a problem when it comes to its sponsorship of terrorism.
Kashmir. Now, Fawad Ahmed Chaudhry, Pakistan's Federal Minister for Information and Broadcasting, is here to present the Pakistani perspective. Mr. Chaudhry, welcome to the show. It's really great to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
So, Mr. Chaudhry, India says its planes struck a terror camp inside Pakistan, but Islamabad denies this and says India hit nothing. How is anyone to believe anything about this conflict's accounts of events?
Well, yes, you are absolutely right. Everyone will have their own perspective. We will have our own perspective. India will have its own perspective. And then what one should do? One should look at the neutral accounts. So you can go and see the Reuters story on that. You can see the international media reports. You can always see that what the independent news agencies have reported. And the fact is that the kind of the failure of Indian Air Force has actually, I think has damaged Prime Minister Modi's narrative also. The kind of narrative he was trying to build about Indian Army and the defense forces, that has shattered. And actually it has shattered the myth of invincibility of Prime Minister Modi himself. So I think it has hurt a lot the Indian claims that they have done so much, that they are almost close to be a superpower. So this whole story and myth has actually shattered by this very immature actions by India.
So the terror attack that started the conflict was carried out from Pakistani-controlled territory. At about the same time, another group of terrorists attacked Iran, also from Pakistani-controlled territory. Why is Pakistan putting itself at risk of relations from its neighbors by tolerating terrorist organizations within its borders? Or are the extremist groups too powerful for the Pakistani authorities to control?
Well, frankly, there is no evidence to that. So we have historical issues with India, so they try to blame everything on Pakistan. The fact of the matter is, even if you see today's United Nations Human Rights Report, you will see the atrocities of Indian Army in Kashmir has actually created so much hatred for India in Kashmir that even now the very own Indian writers, the independent, the media people, they are are also reporting that such incidents are actually indigenous. And in the first speech, when the Prime Minister of Pakistan asked India that if you're alleging something, so let's share evidence of that. We have not received any evidence. Then we asked for investigation of any kind. We have not heard anything about that. Then we asked, let's talk on that. We have not heard anything of that. And actually, the Prime Minister Modi has used this incident more for his personal political gains, and that is actually problematic when a politician refuses to care about the lives of crores, hundreds and millions of people, and just focus on its own politics. That's actually unfortunate.
So you're saying there is no proof or evidence. Does this mean that, are you saying Indian Air Force just struck Pakistan without any cause?
Of course, and this is what Pakistan has demanded from India. And on the very first day, when they alleged that some organization based in Pakistan has claimed responsibility, and there is evidence to that, Prime Minister Imran Khan went on air. He asked India that let's share that evidence. We are looking forward to that, and if you provide us evidence, we are ready for action. And later on, he also offered India investigation into this incident. He asked for the talks also, but our offers have never met with any, substantive counter offer.
Tensions between India and Pakistan have been simmering since February 14th, the day that 40 CRPF men were killed in action in Jammu and Kashmir's Pulwama. Islamabad's all-weather ally has been lending constant support to them ever since, but Beijing is not willing to irk India. A report in the Chinese state media claims that Beijing will not take any side if war does break out between India and its western neighbor. The report claims that Beijing will play the role of a mediator instead. It will aim to ease the conflict between the two countries. The op-ed in the Chinese state media read, and I quote, "Although China supported Pakistan in alleviating poverty and wiping out terrorism, Beijing is not an enemy of New Delhi. Just the opposite. China proposed and launched the BRI, which not only meets India's needs for infrastructure, construction, but also helps ease India-Pakistan tensions. India should overcome its prejudices against the BRI, as the initiative will boost cooperation and help bring stability to the region." End quote. The report further states that the Chinese government believes that if India and Pakistan meet, a mutual trust can be built. Beijing believes a foundation for peaceful negotiations can be laid to strengthen the fight against terrorism. All this while, China sits on the sidelines. While this statement may not cut ice with India, it will definitely come as a blow to Islamabad. Pakistan has been confident that its iron brother China will not allow India to run over it, but with the latest statement, that confidence could take a bit of a beating.